जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जयो गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद। श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद। श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayo Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai, Jai Gaura Nitai. Jayo Jagannath, Jai Jagannatha, Baladeva, Jai Shri Subhadra. Jayo Radha Vallabha, Radha Vallabha Shri Radhe. Jayo Radha Vallabha, Radha Vallabha Shri Radhe. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद। जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्रशत श्री श्रीमद् चरणारविंद भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 7, Chapter number 9, verse number 22. सात्वं हि नित्या विजितात्म गुणा स्वधाम्ना। सत्वं हि नित्या विजितात्म गुणा स्वधाम्ना। कालो वशीकृत विसृज्य विसर्ग शक्तिः। कालो वशीकृत विसृज्य विसर्ग शक्तिः। चक्रे विश्रितम् अजयेश्वरा षोडशरे। चक्रे विशिष्टम् अजयेश्वर षोडशारे। निष्पीड्यमानम् उपकर्ष विभो प्रपन्नम्। निष्पीड्यमानम् उपकर्ष विभो प्रपन्नम्। स्वातं हि नित्य विजितात्म गुणा स्वधाम्ना। कालो वशीकृत विसृज्य विसर्ग शक्तिः। चक्रे विसृष्टम् अजयेश्वर षोडशारे। निष्पीड्यमानम् उपकर्ष विभो प्रपन्नम्। उपकर्ष विभो प्रपन्नम्। सत्वं हि नित्य विजितात्म स्वधाम्ना। कालो चक्रे निष्पीड्यमानम् उपकर्ष विभो प्रपन्नम्। माता जी। सत्वं हि नित्य विजितात्म गुणा स्वधाम्ना। कालो विसर्ग शक्तिः। चक्रे विशिष्टम् अजयेश्वर षोडशारे। Nishpīdyamanamupakarsha vibho prapannam. Sattvam hi nitya vijitātmaguna svadhamna. Kalo vasīkrita vijaya shaktihi. Chakre vishvishtam ajayeshvara shodashare. Nishpīdyamanamupakarsha vibho prapannam. Sattvam hi nitya vijitātmaguna. Chakre vishishtamadeshvara shodashare. Nishpīdyamanamupakarsha vibho prapannam. What word meaning? Saha, that one, the supreme independent person, who through his external energy has created the material mind, which is the cause of all suffering in this material world. Tvam, you are. He, indeed, Nitya, eternally. Vijitatma, conquered. Gunaha, whose property of intelligence. Svadhamna, by your personal spiritual energy. Kalaha, the time element which creates and annihilates. Vashikrita, brought under your control. Visrijya, by which all effects. Visarga, and causes. Shaktihi, the energy. Chakre, in the wheel of time, the repetition of birth and death. Visrishtam, being thrown. Ajaya, by your external energy, the mode of ignorance. Ishvara, O Supreme Controller. Shodashare, with 16 spokes. The 5 material elements, the 10 senses, and the leader of the senses, namely the mind. Nishpīdyamanam, being crushed under that wheel. Upakarsha, kindly take me to the shelter of your lotus feet. Vibho, O Supreme Great. Prapannam, whom I am fully surrendered unto you. Translation. My dear Lord, O Supreme Great, you have created this material world of 16 constituents, but you are transcendental to their material qualities. In other words, these material qualities are under your full control, and you are never conquered by them. Therefore, the time element is your representation. My Lord, O Supreme, no one can conquer you. As for me, however, I am being crushed by the wheel of time, and therefore I surrender fully unto you. Now kindly take me under the protection of your lotus feet. Please repeat the translation. My dear Lord, O Supreme Great, you have created this material world of 16 constituents, but you are transcendental to their material qualities. In other words, these material qualities are under your full control, and you are never conquered by them. Therefore, the time element is your representation. My Lord, O Supreme, no one can conquer you. As for me, however, I am being crushed by the wheel of time, and therefore I fully surrender unto you. Now kindly take me under the protection of your lotus feet. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It's a decent purport, but very nice purport. The wheel of material miseries is also a creation of Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he is not under the control of the material energy. Rather, he is the controller of the material energy. Whereas we, the living entities, are under its control. When we give up our constitutional position, Jivara Swarupa Hoy Krishna Nityadas, the Supreme Personality of Godhead creates this material energy and her influence over the conditioned soul. Therefore, he is the Supreme, and only he can deliver the conditioned souls from the onslaught of material nature. Māmevaye prapadyante māyametam tarantite. Maya, the external energy, continuously imposes upon the conditioned souls the suffering of threefold miseries of this material world. Therefore, in the previous verse, Prahlad Maharaj prayed to the Lord, "But for your Lordship, no one can save me." Prahlad Maharaj has also explained that a child's protector, his parents, cannot save the child from the onslaught of birth and death, nor can medicine or a physician save one from death, nor can a boat or similar means of protection save a person drowning in the water, for everything is controlled by Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, suffering humanity must surrender to Krishna, as Krishna himself demands in the last instruction of Bhagavad Gita 1866. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshashyami ma shuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. All of human society must take advantage of this offer and thus be saved by Krishna from the dangers of being crushed by the wheel of time, the wheel of past, present and future. The word nispidyamanam, being crushed, is very significant. Every living entity in the material condition is actually being crushed again and again. And to be saved from this position, one must take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then one will be happy. The word prapannam is also very significant. For unless one fully surrenders to the Supreme Lord, one cannot be saved from being crushed. A criminal is put in prison and punished by the government. But the same government, if it likes, can release the criminal from imprisoned life. Similarly, we must know conclusively that our material condition of suffering has been allotted to us by Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if we want to be saved from this suffering, we must appeal to the same controller. Thus, one can be saved from this material condition. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuthapad Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubheva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Hare Krishna. Continuing with the amazing prayers of Prahlad Maharaj to Lord Nrsimhadev. These are very instructive prayers actually. it is explaining our condition, our position, and the Supreme Lord's greatness simultaneously. And that's how prayers are meant to be. Not just we go and just we demand in front of the Lord what we want, but glorification of the Lord is part of the prayers. And showing and explaining one's own then condition or our one's lowly fallen condition, and then begging to the Lord what exactly we want from Him. So Prahlad Maharaj is in this particular prayer practically doing all three. In this specific prayer, he's glorifying the Supreme Lord. He's telling about his condition, that how he's being crushed by time, which actually is not. And then he's requesting the Lord that please accept me, give me protection under your lotus feet. And that's what his demand is in this particular prayer, or a request basically. So actually the way the verse is, multiple different explanations can cover many classes on this. But I'll just briefly go through the purport and what Prabhupada makes, and some other points which came to my mind while preparing for it. So there is a very interesting word Srila Prabhupada uses, which is nishpidyamanam, that is being crushed under the wheel of the time. Prabhupada in his lecture is straight away coming to the point that we think we are very happy in this material world. There's a lot of happiness and we try to find happiness. But it's amazing how this material creation has a very, very peculiar design. And the design is such that everyone in their given particular condition is trying to enjoy and trying to be best in what they're trying to enjoy basically. But they don't understand that the same enjoyment is very lowly for another person who is superior to us. So he gives an example of a hog who is trying to enjoy the stool, but when we see a hog enjoying stool, for us it's abominable. But the happiness the hog experiences is just incredible. It's one of the best cuisines possible, which is received by the hog. Of course, the cuisine must have been received by the person who ate and who evacuated. But the happiness a hog experiences is amazing how material energy is working. The material energy has two amazing characteristics. One is Avaranatmika Shakti and the other is Prakshipatmika Shakti. And Prabhupada continues to explain how this Avaranatmika Shakti works in such a way that it covers a living entity in such a way that a living entity is ready to experience and enjoy anything abominable. Prabhupada says, otherwise, how can one suffer like this? How is it possible for a living entity who is completely pure, part and parcel of the Supreme, to suffer like this? You take a worm out of stool and keep it in the clean place. Gradually, you'll see the worm crawling back to the same abominable condition. We see even with humans also. Prabhupada gives the example how when Bhaktivedanta Maharaj was trying to open a temple, he opened a temple in Rangoon in Burma. And they have a very interesting cuisine which we can't even think of smelling, but it is a delicacy. I don't know what the name is, but something Nafi or something it's called, I don't know what. So Prabhupada explains how this dish is made. So they keep a bowl outside where they collect all the dead animals and then just leave it for many years to decompose. And when the decomposition happens, it releases a juice. And if anyone opens that container, the whole neighborhood will smell so bad. So the juice that releases from the decomposition of the flesh is later given to all the kids as a delicacy to enjoy years later. So Prabhupada says that's when we tried to open a temple there, and Bhaktivedanta Maharaj opened a temple. When puris were being fried in fresh ghee, there were serious complaints made by neighbors that what abominable smell is this of ghee frying pudis basically. And they couldn't tolerate, and there were a lot of complaints. We also have a very similar complaint in our neighborhood. A very particular neighbor is constantly on our shoulders trying to shut our kitchen down, saying that the smell he can't tolerate. Even though most of the neighbors, they like the smell of prasadam being cooked, but this particular neighbor, he just can't handle it. So one day in a conversation, he kept on saying, "This is a foul smell, this is foul smell, your cooking is foul smell." And Aniruddha Prabhu had to shut him off that, yes, we agree it is a smell, but it's not a foul smell. It is not a foul smell. So this is amazing how the avaran, how the covering by material energy takes place. And then one enjoys, actually one suffers, but in the name of enjoyment, one goes through different flavors. And then the material energy beats, and then the prakyapatmika action takes place. First the covering happens, and then beating happens. People enjoy so many different ways in this material world. People will go to any extent to just gain some pleasure. I was speaking to one of my friends the other day, and him and his girlfriend, they both were explaining, suddenly they had a spiritual experience. So for me, it was first time I was hearing someone speak like that, and he was explaining how they had a spiritual experience. And then he said, I felt one day in meditation from my spine of a lightning feeling coming, and then it came through my mind, and then I visualized something. At 10-15 minutes I kept on listening to the whole description, and suddenly it clicked me, and I asked the person, what did you take? What did you take before that meditation you did? And then he explained the name. He told me the name of the drug he took before he sat for meditation. And and then he went on explaining, and the girl said, yeah, he gave me also, but the quantity was less, so my experience was less. It's amazing covering. And then I was very curious, because first time I was hearing someone live talking to me about their experience. I had heard about the hallucinations they go through, and then what all visualizations people have. And then he said, since then till now, it's been 20 days, I feel as if I'm the most morose person. But that day's experience was incredible. So the covering was such, and then the beating was such, that, and he was literally glorifying himself, and the girl was glorifying herself, until we exposed the whole concept of artificial intoxication, trying to realize something spiritual through chemicals. Of course, he comes every week to do service now, once a week. But amazing how covering takes place, and how people try to enjoy even in the name of religion or spirituality. There's in Prema Chandrika, Narottam Das Thakur sings this bhajan. There are many stanzas, I think 11 or 12, but one of the stanza he says, Jnana Kanda Karma Kanda Keval Vishera Bhanda Amrita Boliya Yabe Khaye Nana Yoni Sada Phire Kadare Bhakshano Kare Tara Janma Adhe Pate Jaye. He says, the fruitive worker of Karma Kanda and the speculations of Jnana Kanda are two pots of poison. If one drinks these two poisons and then proclaim that they both are as sweet as nectar, he will fall from the human realm. Doing what? And spend a long time wandering in many species of life, eating many abominable things, and enjoying many horrible pleasures. Prabhupada quotes this so many times. In many lectures, this particular thing, Nana Yoni Sada Phire. Going species after species, trying to enjoy this and that, different foods you're trying to enjoy. But where it leads to no happiness, it leads to no satisfaction, and the search continues. in one place says that the definition of ananda or happiness is once attained, you don't hanker for it. That means the key reason that we are still hankering for pleasure in so many things, that is, it actually explains that we haven't got it, what we are looking for. Another very interesting word in this particular verse is the first word, Saha. And Prabhupada translates it as that one, the supreme independent person who, through his external energy, has created the material mind, which is the cause of all suffering in this material world. Actually, in Avadhuta Brahman's prayer also, he puts practically the whole onus, whole blame on the mind. This is so what mind does is it's amazing. The workings of mind, it's amazing. The way it brings suffering in our lives is through attachments. Mind causes attachment, and then rest everything takes place because of the attachment. Because mind causes attachment. And there's a very famous verse in Bhagavad Gita, Dhyayate Vishyam Pumsa Sangaste Sopajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kama Krodha Vijayate. Why? Because mind is focused on a particular object, and when the meditation takes place of that particular object, attachment takes place. And intense attachment causes the whole further action to happen, where suffering happens, where a person goes through through a stage where you do inhuman activities. People don't mind causing suffering to another living entity. Why? Because they have lost their sense of discrimination because of attachment. The beginning was how mind focused so much on an object and became so attached to it. And that's where a lot of verses we hear in Bhagavatam, a lot of sections we study, a lot of prayers devotees have, is just begging the Lord that please help me take my attachment away from this material world. And then the investment of attachment, which is through emotions also, is it's placed in so many areas, in relationships, in money, power, position, name, fame, so many places that whenever these attachments are disturbed, we feel a disturbance that is taking place in our lives, and we feel the pain. Why? Because the attachment is disturbed. The emotions which are involved in that through that attachment is disturbed. And that's why giving up this attachment means refocusing the mind. And this is a very classic verse Avadhuta Brahman gives. It's in two consecutive verses he gives on how to actually bring back the mind to its constitutional position, or bring back the soul to its constitutional position as servant of Krishna through the workings of the mind. And I'll quote that verse. It's actually a very nice shloka from 11th canto 9th chapter, verse number 12 and then 13. Yasmin manolabdha padam yad etaj channay shanair munchati karma rinun sattvena vriddhena rajastamascha vidhuya nirvanam upayeti anindhanam. He says the mind can be controlled when it is fixed on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Having achieved a stable situation, the mind becomes free from the polluted desires to execute material activities. Thus, as the mode of goodness increases in strength, one can completely give up the mode of passion and ignorance. So basically, first rising above mode of passion and ignorance. And then gradually one transcends even the material mode of goodness. And when the mind is freed from the fuel of modes of nature, the fire of material existence is extinguished. Then one achieves the transcendental platform of direct relation with the object of his meditation, the Supreme Lord. So the gradual progression here is explained is to rise above mode of passion and ignorance. And then when one is situated in mode of goodness, then gradually one transcends even material mode of goodness. What happens after that? Thus, when one's consciousness is completely fixed on the absolute truth, after rising above mode of goodness, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one no longer sees dualities or internal external reality. And then he gives an amazing example of the arrow maker from whom he got this lesson from. Because in this whole chapter, many lessons he got from many people. The example is given of the arrow maker who was so absorbed in making a straight arrow that he did not even see or notice the king himself who was passing right next to him. So this arrow maker was sitting and then he was making an arrow, trying to make a straight arrow. And king came with his whole entourage, with all the kettle drums, full sound, making a big noise. But this arrow maker was so focused, so busy in just making this arrow. And Avadhuta Brahman saw him. And he was very much amazed by the example of his absorption. And that's where he quotes this verse, that how absorbed he is in his work, that if similarly the mind gets absorbed in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the distractions of this material world will not bother so much. When I was reading only, I was thinking, my God, it's just at a drop of a hat, at least I get distracted, or we get so easily distracted. We sit with the commitment, okay, I'll sit and read, and it just takes one message to come, or one call to come, and the focus is gone. You just no longer can read again. So, Prabhupada says in the Purport that one who is completely absorbed in loving devotion to Krishna, he does not pay any more attention to material illusion. Then he explains what is external distraction a person goes through, which can be through food, drink, sex and so on, which drags the senses into material dualities. But then there is internal distraction also. That refers to the memory of previous sense gratification, what enjoyment one had previously. So internally, those impressions are constantly bothering. Externally, the stimuli one gets through whatever means, through food, to social media. Prabhupada, when he wrote the Purport, social media was not there, but I think it tops the chart right now. Yesterday one devotee was asking me, Prabhu, I'm planning to buy a new gaming laptop. I said, why you want to buy a gaming laptop? He said, I want to make a career in gaming. I said, how do you make career in gaming? He said, you just play games for hours and hours and hours on YouTube, and there are other platforms, and there are many viewers who will come and watch, and they just pay you. The sponsors will pay you for that. I said, just to sit and play games for hours and hours on social media, someone is going to pay you? He said, yes. And people are making career out of it. He said, what do you think? What should I do? I told him, give me time to think. Because amazing, what a distraction it must be that you're trying to make money from such a source which is known to be distractive. And this is a shooting game. It happened really with me. It's a shooting game. I was on Burke Street, intersection of Swanson and Burke Street, and I've told this many times before, but because it happened with me, it just stays with me. I think for my whole life this example will keep coming out. Suddenly a teenage boy, 14 or 15-year-old, with his sister, he was walking, and suddenly he kneeled down on the street and he started shooting everyone with his hands on, like that this boy started doing. And sister is just smiling. I said, and he's aiming, policeman, tram driver, he shot me also. Whoever he saw, he was shooting. I said, what is he doing? So sister was smiling. He said, okay. Then the tram came, we all went in. He entered the tram. First thing he did is took his phone out, started playing. So he must be playing so many hours that the damage was such that he didn't even, there is no reality check that's happening around him, that I am on a public place, on a street, and I'm just still shooting people. How many hours he must be spending. So this is the damage it can cause. But people are so enamored. And what to speak of the previous life's impressions, or even in this life, whatever sinful activities we have done, the hopes and the sense of gratification it can bring. That's how the mind thinks. It's very difficult to conquer. Very difficult to give up. But one who sees everywhere the Supreme Absolute Truth, Prabhupada continues, categorically rejects both internal and external illusion. And this is called Muktipad, the state of liberation. A very classic example we see, of course we are not there yet, or we are very far from that actually, is of Haridas Thakur. Now, no ordinary person came to distract Haridas Thakur. Maya Devi herself came in the form of a prostitute to distract Haridas Thakur. But there was practically no distraction we see in his behavior. There was no contemplation of enjoying the prostitute we see in Haridas Thakur's behavior. Whereas a message can distract us. Speaking for myself, I'm saying a very small distraction is enough to break the whole pattern or a focused attempt to study or read or chant. It's in our lives. So now we are not Haridas Thakur, then what is our hope? And our hope is just a steady sadhana, I feel. For many years, devotees have been doing their sadhana bhakti. And then when they look back and they see, oh, whatever is promised in nectar of devotion is not happening with me, that this Vaidhi sadhana bhakti leads to Raganuga sadhana bhakti and then goes further to bhava and then prema. So it's a good check to be done, that where I'm going wrong in my sadhana bhakti. Giriraj Maharaj gives 2 pointers, 2 points he gives that which helps improve sadhana bhakti, especially our hearing and chanting and our service to Krishna. And he says that for anyone to develop a close relationship or a good relationship with their chanting, even service also for that matter, 2 things are very important. Because when we are talking about Krishna through hearing or chanting or seva, it's about a relationship. So he says materially also this same rule applies, and for sadhana bhakti also this same rule applies, and that is attention and time. One must give time and one must give attention, and then a relationship nourishes. So even through chanting or through service or when we are trying to study Srila Prabhupada's books, first most important thing is to give time. For us, for devotees who are initiated to give time to chant for 2 hours or 16 rounds, it has become basically a second nature. But attention many times lack. So it's just seeing the example, husband and wife, husband gives time to wife but very inattentive. There will be serious complaints. A partner is on the phone and then whole day with another partner or with children, but on the phone all the time, for example. It will not take the relationship anywhere, because time and attention both are very, very important. And if that is inculcated in our sadhana bhakti, wonders can happen. And we see many examples of devotees around us who are showing symptoms of advancement, and that is such a hope. That is such a hope. One of the key reasons of devotee association, one of the key benefits of devotee association is that our hope never dies. Our hope never dies in the process of Krishna consciousness, because we know ourselves, we are struggling, but we have many other examples in front of us, around us, who are not, or who are thriving in their bhakti. So the faith on the process, the faith on Krishna's words, and the faith on the promise of acharyas, if that is kept intact for a devotee, Krishna conscious progress is possible. Is possible. Why? Because once someone's hope dies, once someone's faith dies, serious disaster can happen in spiritual life. But when it comes to Krishna, all these problems are not there at all. Why? There is a very particular word used for Krishna. Prahlad Maharaj uses that Nitya Vijita Atmaguna Swadhamna. You are beyond all the gunas. You are beyond all the foundations of time, because you are creator. You are above it. You are the source of it. Many Mayavadi philosophers, they say, when an incarnation avatar comes, So the impersonal Brahmajyoti takes Sattva-guna, a form which is made of Sattva-guna, and then comes as avatar. So if you get a chance to speak to some person who has this Mayavadi concept, it took me almost 10 years being a devotee to meet someone who actually thinks like this. First 10 years I never met someone who actually lives Mayavadi philosophy. Because most of the people are not educated at all in either of the philosophies, whether Vaishnava Siddhanta or Mayavad Siddhanta. But when I spoke to someone like this and he started speaking this language, I got so excited that okay, today I can talk to someone what we heard from Srila Prabhupada. Because this is exactly the language they use. That Brahmajyoti, the Brahma Prakash has come, and then they have taken a form which is of Sattva-guna. Of course, they don't use such eloquent terminologies, but for them it's a very, very layman's language they use. But they say the Brahmajyoti comes, Brahmajyoti takes avatar, and when the time or the purpose of Brahma Prakash, the impersonal Brahman is over, the body dies, and the light merges back into the original light. So why can't we become that light when someone else can come and act as an avatar? Why can't we act as an avatar? Or we become qualified to become God in that capacity? This is the argument they put. So this verse is a reference for anyone who speaks like that, where Bhagavatam is, this is one of the references, there's so many references, where Prahlad Maharaj is praying to Nrsimhadev that you are beyond all the gunas. It just doesn't even touches you. You're completely aloof from him. And that's where, keeping that understanding in mind, Prahlad Maharaj begs and requests, my dear Lord, now please accept me under your shelter, give me protection. And Srila Prabhupada quotes this very famous verse, which has become so common to us that the depth and the intensity of the verse sometimes doesn't click, because we repeat and we hear it so many times. But this verse, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshashyami Ma Sucha. Give up all concocted ways of religion we have created and just surrender unto me. Krishna even refers, in the purport of that verse, Srila Prabhupada even says that whatever Krishna has spoken about even Varnashram before, give that up. What to speak of demigod worship and whatever, and just surrender unto me. And then liberation is guaranteed. So with this mood, Prahlad Maharaj is approaching the Supreme Lord and requesting that I am being crushed under the influence of time. I am being crushed, which he is not, but being a liberated soul. But he is speaking on our behalf, like Arjuna did in Bhagavad Gita. And then he's saying, Upakarsha Vibho Prapannam. Please take me under your shelter. I am fully surrendered unto you. Please take me under your shelter. So with this prayer, we can also offer our prayers to the Supreme Lord, to Radha Vallabh, that in our own way, in our own context, that please help us in becoming better in our sadhana bhakti, so that we can also experience the higher realms of stages of bhakti and not just stay in the Kanishta platform forever. Just few points I just thought, there's so many ways you can talk about this verse. You can just explain time through this verse itself. But of course, I have limited capacity and intelligence. So I'll just stop there and see if any questions or comments are there on this topic.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the nice class. Prabhu, you mentioned how when we actually feel happiness, we will not hunger for other material happiness. The reason we always look for happiness is because we've never experienced real happiness ever. But Prabhu, when we were with Lord Krishna, we were so happy, everything was so good, and we felt that happiness. So I'd like to ask, why did we desire to come to this material world in the first place? Why are we still hankered for material happiness?
Prabhupada did mention that in Purport, that a living entity. I'll read that exactly what he says. The wheel of material misery is also creation of Supreme Lord, but he is not under the control of material energy. Rather, he is controller of material energy, whereas we, the living entities, are under its control. When we give up our constitutional position, Jivara Swarupa Krishna Nityadas, the Supreme Personality of Godhead creates this material energy and her influences over the conditioned soul. So, I'll explain it with an example so that it may become easy to understand this concept, because there is a lot of contradiction, a lot of debate on this particular question. Many times this is a very famous, one of the most famous question in ISKCON. Why we fell from the spiritual world when we were with Krishna, and if Krishna is all happiness, then why we gave up that happiness to come to enjoy some other happiness? There are many ways to answer it. Many acharyas have commented on it that. But for take an example, suppose a young girl goes to the mother while she's trying to cook at home, and she's very excited about the whole cooking process, and now she wants to go and cook. So she tells the mother, I also want to cook. So the mother may say, okay, if you want to cook, take some atta dough, or okay, you can help me cut some veggies. He said, no, you go and sit inside, I will cook. And she's just a very young girl, 7, 8, 10 years maybe. Mother knows if she will come and cook, she'll burn herself. There will be, any disaster can happen. Things can fall on her, or of course cooking will not happen ever. But damage can happen. But she's insisting, and she starts crying, and she pushes and pushes and pushes. No, I want to cook. You go inside, I want to be the cook. I want to be known as the cook here. So what mother will do is, if she's a good mother, intelligent mother, she will not just beat the child and send away, or she'll not let the child just cook and get injured. What she'll do, she'll basically bring a fake artificial kitchen set for the daughter. Okay, you want to experience? And then she'll give maybe some dry atta, some dough, so that she can make some roti, or some water she'll give and put in the kettle and cup. The child can play around. So that same mood a living entity has, where the living entity doesn't want to assist the Lord, but rather wants to be the Lord and Master itself. And when it comes to a stage where the living entity is adamant that I want to be the center of all creation, I want to be the center of all attention, then there is no other choice for the Lord than to create this material energy, because in spiritual world that will never happen. Spiritual world is not meant for someone else to be the center. Spiritual world means Supreme Lord is the center, as simple as that. So when we want to be the chef and not assist the chef, then a fake kitchen set will come to you. So similarly, this material world is created where a living entity experiences that it's me who is the controller. And imagine, billions and billions of living entities are there, and everyone is thinking I am the center of the universe. And in spiritual world, much more number of living entities are there. Billions and over billions of living entities are there, and everyone is thinking Krishna is the center. What amazing difference in consciousness, right? So the whole creation is in such a way that everyone acts and thinks and behaves that it's me who is the center. And for that experience, and then the suffering that carries forward, that continues, that comes along with that experience, to enjoy, not to enjoy, but to experience that, material world is created. That one day we come to our senses that, okay, no, this was a bad choice. If I want to be healthy, let my mother cook. And I better assist her whatever way I can. Similarly, a kid is crying and telling the father, I want to drive. Father may make him sit on the lap, okay, you hold the steering. He said, no, you sit on the other side, I want to drive. No, you're a 5-year-old kid, how can you drive? So the father is forced to take this child to amusement park and make him sit in a toy car, where the boy can take the car and hit other cars and then be independently enjoying That's what any intelligent parent will do. But the only difference is the Supreme Lord doesn't want this to happen. Why? Because he knows the living entity will be separated from him, will suffer, and being a loving, kind parent that he is, he doesn't want living entities to be away from him. So he comes, he creates all this drama, he appears, he does his leela, he sends his devotees, all knowledge is given, scriptures are given. It doesn't matter which culture one belongs to, he gives some form of information that they can gradually come towards him to the same position as eternal servant of the Lord, where only one person is the center. Is it okay?
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Anything else? Okay. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, प्रहलाद महाराज की जय हो.